Hey guys, what's going on? Back with another video. Looks like it's some sort of a solve for the B17 in Nacht Der Untoten. But it's a solve that we wouldn't have known about up until a couple of years ago. And I think it's kind of what Jason Blundell meant when he said a lot of stuff's going to start making sense in a couple of years. Like back in 2017, he was doing like a press tour for Zombie Chronicles. So, having said that, I'm not going to go too long. I just kind of like showing people the information. They can kind of continue after the video and keep doing their own research and maybe get a little bit of a better understanding. But like I said, Nacht Der Untoten came out in 2009 in World at War, and it was the first ever zombie map, and it's technically a prototype map. It really doesn't fit too much into the storyline, but the way it looks like Call of Duty is doing stuff now and maybe up until the future, it's kind of giving backstories, expanding on stuff that we didn't know about, and particularly in Infinite Warfare Zombies, Willard Wyler being the director for Kino der Toten. He did the movies. That's kind of the backstory, and it made me think that like the way Chaos Story was supposed to be, it was supposed to be the new zombie storyline. And in my opinion, if you do your research, you'll find out that it looked like Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward were going to continue the Ether story in these little kind of expansions of the Ether map. So, like I said, if you didn't know, this is a B-17 that crashed in Nacht Der Untoten, and it shows the soldiers, I guess, waking up, or you're assuming it's the soldiers waking up, and hiding inside the in Nacht Der Untoten and trying to fight off the zombies from coming in. So that's pretty much what everybody knows or knew up until this point. And like I said, just to show, it's a B-17 Flying Fortress, and it flew. I think it said it. And like I said, this is just to kind of go over some stuff. You can Google, Wikipedia, Boeing B-17, just in case you didn't know what type of aircraft it was. It flew, I believe, starting at 1930 up until mid 1940s. It flew a lot of missions, and it dropped the most bombs during World War II. And it's a U.S. aircraft from Boeing, fought against the Nazi in Germany. And I know people have different ideas of where Nacht Der Untoten is, but going by the name, you can assume it's in Germany, and it was supposed to be in Germany. I know the map it came from in World at War was a Japanese map, but I think in zombie lore, it, and because of the name, it was based in Germany. So, like I said, this is just some little bit of information I'm giving you. You can kind of go in and do your own research, but it's a B-17, and how Activision Call of Duty is linking everything together, maybe doing like expanding. Maybe Treyarch's gonna try it now. Maybe it didn't work. People didn't like. It sounds like a lot of people didn't like Infinite Warfare, or the Treyarch players didn't like. The Black Ops Zombies players didn't like Infinite Warfare and World War II Zombies, and it looks like those are supposed to be a little bit of an expansion because World War II Zombies links to Ether also. Infinite Warfare Zombie links to Ether, and it looks like it was expanding on the whole Keener der Toten backstory. Because Willard Wyler, who is the main antagonist, bad guy slash villain in Infinite Warfare Zombies, it says he's been directing films for over 40 years before the events of the Zombies game mode. Willard Wyler previously wrote and directed two films, Disco Devil and Nightmare Summer. Those we still haven't seen yet. If Infinite Warfare is going to end up doing more zombies down the road, maybe in their next round after 2020. 1975 and 1979. I'm just gonna go over some stuff really quickly. He was married, had a daughter. Uh, Winona Lee Wyler, and Alexandra died of cancer, who was his wife. Just a kind of a backstory who he is. He was the main antagonist. He recruited actors for his Afterlife was the name of the movie theater. You know, that's also linking to the Ether, Mob of the Dead, Afterlife angle that's used in Treyarch Zombies. You know, Rave in the Redwoods was one of his stories. Zombies in Spaceland, and he had the whole movie theater theme to it. Movies, all linked together. Now, a lot of people don't know is Willard Wyler is based off of William Wyler, and this is how it links to Keener de Toten. I kind of went over this in another video in more depth, so I'm not gonna probably spend too much time. Just kind of giving you some more backstory and see how it now gives a solve for the B17 uh, in Nacht Der Untoten. So he was a German director, produced a lot of films in America, starting same thing around the 1930s, I believe up until the 80s. Like I said again, go Google William Wyler, read his old Wikipedia page or IMDb uh, profile, and you can kind of read about his family and how he was German, but he was actually Jewish and stuff like that. But that's who he is. That's who Willard Willard's based off of. Going with the whole movie theater, film, real Keener de Toten, and Zombies in Spaceland, Infinite Warfare Zombie, how it links everything together. So if you do some more digging, and hopefully this is something that Treyarch is gonna pursue, or maybe Infinite Warfare down the road, or sorry, Infinity War down the road. So how it links to Nacht Der Untoten and Ether and pretty much everything Activision and Call of Duty's uh, zombie games or zombie modes is William Wyler, who is the real Willard Wyler, who he was based off of. He made a documentary movie about the Memphis Belle. It was the name of a B-17 flying fortress. And same thing, I went through a couple missions. Sorry, and it flew a lot of missions. Now, it could be one of, same thing like Infinite Warfare Zombies, if you're not aware. Infinite Warfare Zombies, just one of the infinite fractured universes that kind of broke off from the original one. That's where you get like multiple outcomes that can happen. So it it's something that Monty hinted at. He That's why he used the word infinite. In one of the cutscenes, how there's so many different outcomes and realities out there, and infinite. And it's true. That's real life science also. How people believe there's infinite amounts of yourself in other universes and all over the our universe even. You could be a duplicate of yourself in another galaxy, like light years away. You'll never know. Um, you know, assuming there's humans in other or beings on other planets and other galaxies. So this is just to kind of show you how now it's possible. If not, it's what Treyarch and Call of Duty intended us to kind of piece together is that a lot of the zombie maps now could be based off of movies and film reels. All movies and film reels from Kino der Toten. All those movies and film reels that we see in Kino and World at War and even Zombie Chronicles, that it could be different maps that we ultimately play. So like I said, if you want to read more about the actual B-17 Flying Fortress and how it flew during all the different wars, and it was shot down over France in April 16, 1943, Oh, that's something else. But because I believe if you read the rest of it, and I did, and you do more research, I don't think it was shot down. I think that was just somebody else that got shot down. So, anyways, like I said again, this is just to kind of give you a backstory how now links to Nacht Der Untoten thanks to Lee Ross and Infinity Ward, in a way that Activision is looking like they're gonna put little Easter eggs or linking stuff together, trying to finally piece it together. I kind of think that it was intended to be outside of Treyarch, but because of the way Chaos was received, I think now maybe Treyarch is gonna try and link and expand on these little storylines, stuff from the timeline or the Quinorium that we didn't see before. So here's an idea that Treyarch should do in the future. So kind of like the way Star Wars does it, even though the first map slash movie was done in 2009, kind of like Star Wars: The New Hope. The original Star Wars was back in the 70s. Even though that's the first movie, ended up being like one of the later movies within the timeline. We've now know after Black Ops 4 that Tag Der Toten, Day of the Dead, happened in 2009. And that was the start of the zombie apocalypse with Tunguska in Russia and Call of the Dead and Tag Der Toten. So this is the way they can do it, or the way that they plan on doing it, which would be really, really clever. Um, the way they can do it like a movie trilogy, or they can do 4 movies. I kind of split it up. I split number 2, episode 2, into two routes. Trilogy is going to be a lot better, I would say. So, like I said, episode 1, or they could maybe put it in Zombie Chronicles 3 or something like that. So, episode 1 was Tag Der Toten, Day of the Dead, how it all happened. Episode 3, Nacht Der Untoten, is kind of also how it happened, but kind of still the beginning. Kind of like the beginning of the whole event, broken into three parts. So what I'm thinking for either Afternoon of the Dead, which has a cool name in German, which is I guess Nacht der Untoten. I'm just going with Untoten because it sounds cooler, but it could also be Der Toten. Um, or which would make more sense, but it doesn't have a cool name as the first one, is Evening of the Undead, which is translated into Abend der Untoten. Now, like I said, how it all can fit, or maybe that's the way they plan on doing it, is that the Boeing 17, the backstory, I'm not saying have it set in the actual Nacht Der Untoten because the way people are nowadays, even though they asked for remastered maps and they all begged for remastered map, um, it kind of like almost is backfiring on themselves. Um, it's like they're the ones who asked for it, so now why are they upset that we have all these remastered maps? Um, the players plus YouTubers. So, anyways, how I would do it is maybe have the Boeing 17 slash Memphis Belle, tied into the whole storyline. Have it leave from the map, like the end cutscene could be where it's lifting off and it's flying in the air, and maybe kind of almost like Extinction, where like somebody inside maybe turns into a zombie. Maybe they hid the fact, kind of like in a cheesy 80s movie, how they hide the fact that they were bitten on the hand or on the leg, and then they're flying in the air, and then like uh, the virus or whatever, um, or it turns them into a zombie, or somehow they turn into a zombie, or somehow they get shot down, or something happens. Maybe people are fighting on the Boeing B17, and then they crash into the front of Nacht Der Untoten, and that's maybe where the cutscene ends, and then you kind of piece everything together. Would be pretty awesome, and it would be pretty awesome and the most obvious way to do it tie everything together and have like this be like its own trilogy within the Zombies Ether story itself. And like I said, just to repeat, Day of the Dead is how it all happened in Russia, in Call of the Dead and Attack the Titan, where the Element 117 crashed to the Earth, and then have it where maybe they're somehow escaping, or somebody rescues them, or it's another map, or another U.S. Army, maybe like in Area 51 or something like that, or maybe have an actual like Area 51 map, and then they're leaving, uh, flying to Germany for some reason. Maybe they drop bombs on Germany. Maybe like the whole idea could be like they're loading up uh, to go to Germany to drop bombs on Germany, and then uh, maybe after they drop the bomb, something happens. Maybe they get shot down, or maybe there's a zombie on board, and then it crashes down. Or you could do something kind of pretty cool, almost like Snakes on a Plane, where it's like zombies on a plane or something like that, and it crashes down uh, at Nacht Der Untoten, and it's the whole Memphis Belle, have it like a movie style, and it crashes and ends where Nacht Der Untoten starts. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that, just to give you some ideas and stuff that you can kind of piece together yourself, do some research. I'll see you guys later. Thanks.